And I am live. I am so happy to be coming here today on a Monday. It's not an episode of Mondays with Miko. This is the third of a three-part series on Juneteenth. And so it's from freedom, legacies, and the stories that shaped Mullins. And today I have a special guest that I cannot wait to introduce you all to. Today's series is about Miss Phyllis Jordan. And so let's just recap some of the things that you know I've been doing with this series. So the first part of the series was the Emancipation Proclamation, and that's when we met Mr. Robert Crawford, and he is with the Emancipation Proclamation Association, and that organization had been around for 161 years, y'all. And so he talked to us about the Emancipation Proclamation. And then my second um, series was on Hutu Goshala. And I had Miss Marvern Page, and she talked about Hutu and, everything that he was and the prince that he was, right? Right here, walked this grounds right here in Mullins, South Carolina. And then today we're going to be talking about Miss Phyllis Jordan. But let me tell you, Miss Phyllis Jordan may never have held public office or sought recognition, but she sure did get recognition. She was somebody who walked these streets who was very prominent, and we're going to learn about her from one of her descendants, and I'm excited about that. And then this will conclude my Juneteenth series. So I thank you all for chiming in, tuning in. If you have any questions, hello Cynthia. If you have any questions, please jump in with your questions. This is time for us to learn. And I'm really hoping that as we go through this together, um, that it inspires you to want to learn more about your family. I tell you, this Jersey girl, when I became mayor, and people, let me tell you about Mullins, South Carolina. People love to tell stories. They love not stories as in lies, but stories as in how it used to be. And I love it. I just sop it up, right? I do. I sop it up because Mullins is so rich and deep in history. And so as that's happening, kind of things are, I'm going to say, miraculously happen. Information is happening, and we're gonna uncover a lot of it today. So without any further ado, today I am honored to welcome to my show, Miss Carol Ann Gerald Smith. She is a descendant of Miss Phyllis Jordan. Miss Carol Ann, Mrs. C. She told me I can call her Mrs. C. has dedicated herself to preserving her family's history and ensuring that future generations know the remarkable story of a woman whose compassion has changed this planet and countless number of lives. So thank you so much, Miss C, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Mayor.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm excited to just dive in. Well, first, let's talk about you for a little bit. So, Miss Phyllis Jordan, well, it's just a high level, y'all. Miss Phyllis Jordan. So, you can see the tagline down there, right? Nurse, midwife, hero. The extraordinary life of Miss Phyllis Jordan, and we're gonna unpack it. She was right here in Mullins. She was enslaved. But she was not a slave. If that makes sense. This woman was a giant, and I'm finding out she was a giant quite literally. But she was an amazing person. So tell us about, how are you connected to Miss Jordan?
Well, Miss Phyllis Jordan is my great, 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 great. That's 5 times removed grandmother.
Okay.
Um, I've known about her since I was a child. Um, and I just know that she was an amazing woman from the stories that I was told.
Okay.
Mhm.
So direct lineage,
Mhm.
and y'all up in the direct lineage. Now, I just want to let you know, Linda Phillips, she says hello, and Cynthia Williams says hello, cousin.
Okay. Hi, y'all.
So we're gonna just keep talking about Miss Phyllis. So I'm calling her Miss Phyllis purposely. And the reason is that, we've talked to some others that know her as Mamie Phyllis, Mamie or Aunt. And back during those days, during enslavement and after, because there's a famous aunt that everybody knows, Aunt Jemima, right? They didn't call her Aunt Jemima to say it was something wonderful,
Right.
even though she was a wonderful person. Aunt and Mamie were used so that white people did not have to use terms Ms., Mrs. Those terms were reserved for people they respected.
Hmm.
So we respect Miss Phyllis Jordan in here today.
Yes.
Yes. So yes, she was referred to as aunt, and we're going to come to some things that are in writing that are going to blow your mind. But we're gonna call her Miss Phyllis Jordan, and I think she would be happy.
Yes.
She would be happy to see how far her future generations have come along. So we said that she was a nurse, a midwife, and a cook. What did you do when you got out of high school?
Well, when I got out of high school, I went to nursing school right here in the area. I went to nursing school for licensed practical nurse. I left there. I went to the military and I studied for RN while in the military. Got
Wow.
out and I completed that.
Wow.
And so I did six years military, and I've been in the Columbia area ever since nursing. After 41 years of nursing, I finally retired. But that's what I've done with my life.
That I mean,
Yeah.
just think. I mean, Miss Phyllis, she never thought, that she would have the access to that, let alone her descendants.
Yes.
So that is just amazing. And I just wanted to make sure that we put that out there, right? So
Mhm.
you know how important healthcare is, and how valuable a role that she had.
Yes. Yes.
So let's talk about that
Mhm.
as a nurse midwife. Because man, my husband, he was born in 1963, and friends of his were birthed by midwives.
Right. Right.
Giving birth is a very dangerous thing to do. A lot of women didn't make it.
Exactly. As a nurse, I worked all the areas, actually giving birth or helping to give birth and
Wow.
that kind of thing. But I had two aunts before me, and we never thought about, are we doing this because of what our great 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 grandmother did? But when I think about it, it was part of what was intended. We went on and did what she did. I just never thought about it, but I've been involved in all aspects of nursing. I
Wow.
went back to school, and of course, I got my RN. So after 41 years, I just enjoyed nursing, and like I said, I've completed that journey and that profession um, about 6 years ago. But it was very interesting. It was hard, but it was very interesting.
Yeah, and but
Yeah,
the thing is that you kind of follow
yeah,
that in your family. So
exactly.
let's talk about. I'm gonna talk about you for a little bit.
Okay.
How you grew up, because you talked about a house on Smith Street, and
Yes.
it's very meager. How
Yes.
you had to grow up. Tell me about
Yes.
how you grew up on Smith Street.
I never thought of us as being poor, but we lived on Smith Street. We were kind of back off of Smith Street, but we had a Smith Street address.
Hmm.
Um, I want to think that my great grandmother Phyllis Jordan, had some connection to that house. I know it was a family house. It was the Doziers, which of course was a part of our family. And I lived there until I was 13 years old. I was proud to be there. I just didn't think anything was wrong with it. And as the mayor said, it was very meager, no running water, no inside bathroom, but we survived. And I was a happy kid. I was a happy kid. So I'm proud to say that.
That's, I mean,
proud to say that.
You should be, right?
Yeah.
Because you have, look at your life now, right?
Yeah.
And that is a blessing. If we don't, I really believe that we have to celebrate our history, because if we don't celebrate our history, how are we to appreciate God's true blessings?
That's true.
And
Very
so,
true.
when you say no running water, look, I asked her, y'all, I said, when you mean no running water, like, do you mean, like, how did you get water to cook your food? And what did you say?
We had a pump. We had a pump where you really had to get out there and pump that water in a size 10 tub and a size 20 tub. Everything came in from the pump.
Wow.
And that was part of life.
That was part of life.
And I was still happy.
And you were still happy. It's what you knew, right?
Yeah.
And so, and we've been, as we've been talking about Miss Phyllis, and I remember when I met you, and then saw you in the cemetery, which, I'm gonna load that picture. We can get to that.
Okay.
So when we talk about Miss Phyllis, right? It's like, wow. So she was a nurse, midwife, enslaved in the first intendant of Mullins. So she was in N.B. Cooper's home. And if you go to the city of Mullins, you can see he was the very first intendant. An intendant back then was like mayor of the city of Mullins. So she had a prominent place and a prominent home, right? Yes. So that is something. And then I was wondering, and you're proof of that, right? I'm like, well, how does she handle her own children? Because she was their nurse, their cook, their maid, their slave, and then she had her own family. And how many children do we think she had?
My research shows she had from 10 to 12. It wasn't a definite thing. We don't really know, but in my research, she had 10, 9, 10, and then 12. So I'm not quite sure. We were never able to find any information out about these children, so I'm not sure.
But think about it, right? Because we have to put ourselves back in the times.
Yes.
And if we put ourselves back in her time, she was like, how do I put it? She had these children, but her children, she birthed them. But they were not her property. I mean, they weren't like how we have children today and we get to raise them. Her children could have been anywhere.
Exactly.
From
what I saw, what I've read, the older children, and I don't know whether they were ever actually in the home together, but the older children were on the farms laboring along with her, and the younger children, it said, they were in the house, or later on they were at school. So I'm not sure where the connection was with the children. I can't say that she actually was there with them at all times, because she was certainly with the Coopers.
Yeah. And, well, but then when you think about, like, I'm a big fan of Frederick Douglass. Yes. Actually, Frederick Douglass, he passed away on February 20th, which is the day that I was born. Not the same year, but we have that connection. Right? So Frederick Douglass, he talked about how there was, because the parents had to go, they had to work. They had to work in the enslavers' homes or the fields. And then there was somebody that stayed behind that kind of watched the kids, right? And he talks about being raised by his grandmother. So, I just find myself like always putting myself into, their positions, like what it was like to be back then.
Yes.
Oh, but wait. And so we're going to talk about this picture. I have it. I found it. I'm going to bring this picture up. It's taking me a minute. Hold on a second, y'all, because you guys got to see some of this. And it's the picture of her. And we're going to talk about how this picture ended up in your presence. So she had kids that she had to take care of. and then she had babies. And it's my understanding that it wasn't just, she wasn't a midwife for Black children. She was a midwife for white and Black children. Is
Right.
that correct?
Yes. Yes. From what I understand, she did. She was all over Mullins, taking care of, and even in just Marion County, it said she was taking care of children. She was birthing, helping to birth children. So she was really out there and doing a whole lot for the community.
Right, which is amazing because
Mhm.
she was well known, right?
Yes, and she was.
She's
Mhm.
very well known. We
Right.
was talking to Miss Jan, and she's like, "Yeah, even so, her legacy was carried down through the years and throughout Mullins." Oh, by the way, Miss Marvin Page is watching.
Okay.
She said, "You guys are first cousins since friends cousins since the first grade."
Yes, we met in the first grade. We became best friends in the first grade, and then later we found out we were cousins.
Well, look
So
at that. Look at
yes,
that.
yes,
Look
the
at that.
triple effect. Yeah. Hmm.
Oh, here she is. There she is.
Yeah.
So that is a picture of Miss Phyllis Jordan. Can you tell me about how did you come across this picture?
That picture has been with me all of my life. The house we lived in that little alley with no running water, that picture was on the wall. And I'm not sure, as I said, I don't know whether my great grandmother lived in that home, but that picture has always been there. After my parents, my grandmother died, everybody died. I ended up with the picture because everywhere I went, I took that picture with me. So it's just been a part of me. It's just been a part of my family.
Well,
Yeah.
and she is, right? She
Yes.
is definitely
Yes.
a part of your family. I want to think she's a part of Mullins.
Yes.
That
Yes.
she's a part of all of us.
I
And
would
look, I got
agree.
another picture I'm going to bring up.
Okay.
This is a picture. So I'm gonna just take a quick little sidebar and talk about the colored cemetery. So, and kind of how that came to be, right? So one of the first things that came to be when I became mayor was that, we have a cemetery. We have a couple cemeteries right off of Main Street, and these cemeteries were not being maintained. So I'm like, well, somebody has to own those cemeteries, right? That's property. So then me and another person, we went down to, I'm gonna bring it up. We went down to the to Marion County admin building. Pardon 1 second. So we go to the admin building because we wanted to find out like who owned the cemeteries because we had a bill for them. The city did. Right? Somebody's got to take care of this
Yeah.
because the city didn't own it. And we had to kind of address that. So we went, and what we found out was that there was a mayor. So there's actually one, two, three. There's like four separate cemeteries over in off of Main Street, and it's kind of neat. One is mayor's, then the other one is the colored cemetery. Then across the street from the colored cemetery, you drive through there, and you actually see Confederate insignias. So people who died, who fought in the Civil War on the Confederate side. And actually, there's a Union. I'm not sure. There's a young man who was 20, and he was buried on the colored side. But anyway, so we go and we look at the paperwork, and we could see that it's actually deeded colored cemetery, and that's where she is. And when you came out to we had I'm gonna call it, we were honoring the cemetery. We had people that came down from Texas, from the Juneteenth Museum. And they helped us clean up the cemetery, and they did a ceremony. And you brought your picture and put it. And here's a picture of you and some of your friends. Tell me who's in the picture, if you don't mind.
Well, I have my first cousin there. It's hard to me to
Oh,
see
Marvern.
Yeah,
she got teeny little
my
pictures.
first cousin Lola, then of course, as you said, Marvern, Carrie, another cousin. And you were in one of them, but I don't see you.
I
in
was,
this one.
yes, I was in.
You were.
I was in one of them as well.
So that's family right there around the picture.
So I'm going to read her epitaph. You guys can't see, but I'm going to read it for you so you can see. So on that tombstone, it says Aunt Phyllis Jordan, born a slave about 1834, died March 5th, 1924. For 49 years, a faithful nurse, cook, and washer for Mrs. N.B. Cooper. And at the bottom it says, may thy perpetual light shine upon her. So seeing that tombstone, it was jarring for me for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
One, because if you do the math, man, she was enslaved for a long time. And then two, the tombstone appears to be new or modern.
Mm-hmm.
It's not anything you expect from somebody who died in 1924.
Right.
And did you guys know when that tombstone was put out there, or?
No, had no idea. I was telling you earlier, Mayor, that my mom, and my mom has been gone now for 31 years. My mom, my Aunt Elsie, I forget who else was with us, but there was a few of us out there to see different graves of, of the family.
Right.
We never could even find my great, 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 great grandmother's burial site. We knew she was there somewhere, but there was not a headstone there because we
Wow.
could not find her. So someone had to have come. I don't know what year, of course, but like you said, this is a more modern stone. So it had to come long after we went out looking
Yeah, and that
for
would have
her
been
grave.
30 years ago. So this
Yes.
is 2024. So let me do the math real quick. 2026
Yes.
minus 30 should
Mhm.
be easy, but look.
Yeah.
1996. So you were there in 1996, and this tombstone was not there.
It was not there. Even before that, because my mom died in 95.
Wow.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so let's talk about that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I'd like to put myself like in that time, right? In that time.
Yes.
And for the family to put this tombstone out there, I want to think that in a weird way they cared.
Yeah. So.
That they really cared for her, and they still, they put their name on her tombstone.
Yes.
Which is not good.
Yes.
That's not
Right.
good at all.
Yeah.
So hopefully somebody could explain that to them.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not a good idea. But they did it.
They did it.
And,
Yeah.
and they put the tombstone out there, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
You're 5 generations down.
Right.
So 5 generations down, they had to find her and
Right.
they put the tombstone there.
They had to find her, and that's the thing. They had to look for her.
Wow.
In our eyes, just walking the graveyard looking, we could not find that plate that's in the ground. We couldn't find anything.
Because it's huge.
You
can't miss this.
Exactly. Yes. Now they come along and they find it and they put a headstone there. So one thing I will say, and even though I don't think their name had to be there, but I thank them for marking my great grandmother's burial site.
That was my question.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah.
How did you feel when you saw it?
I was excited. I really was, because of course we would want to know where she is, or any family member. We would want to know where they're buried.
Right.
And we could not find her in the past, and we found her that day. And yeah, thank you to the Coopers.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Yes. That's definitely a blessing. So I'm going to put up another article. Let me see where you at. Let me move this one. You guys can't see it, but it's just for proof, right? I'm going to go ahead and read it. And this was sent to you. This article I'm going to read was actually sent to you by Miss Marvern Page, right?
Yes.
And so it talks about some other folks, but we're gonna drill into the part about Aunt Phyllis. Now, even on the tombstone, Aunt is in air quotes. So that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because Aunt is, again, like I said, it wasn't meant to be a beautiful term. So when they put it on the tombstone, they put it in quotes, like, not my real aunt, but she was Aunt. And, and I didn't get a chance to share this with you. I've had a couple situations here in Mullins since being mayor where people have come up to me telling me about my husband's mom was their mammy. And I'm not quite okay with that yet. But it's jarring and it's shocking,
In this
but
day and time.
in this
Yeah.
day and time.
Mhm.
But the people that are coming up to me saying these things, they mean it. I could tell that they loved her.
Right.
So it's weird.
Mm.
It's definitely weird. All right, so let me go ahead and let me read this for you guys. Let's start with this. Nope, not you. Hey, Miss Phyllis. This one. All right. So what I'm reading is, so the article is talking about Aunt Phyllis, and again in quotes, Uncle Alfred and Uncle Ned, all in quotes. Huh. All right. Aunt Phyllis is still alive. She has been and is yet a veritable giantess with skin as black as midnight and a heart as clean as the driven snow. She has been a great blessing to the family. She has got the old time religion, and in heaven above, we all expect to be with her. And all the saints who have washed their robes and made them as white as the blood of the Lamb. And then there's a picture. You guys could see it. It's a picture of Mamie holding a white child. And that's an article that was sent to you.
Holding a child. Mm-hmm.
So, how did you feel when you saw this? What does hearing those words about Miss Phyllis, your great 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 grandmom, how does that? How do you take that?
Skin as black as midnight.
Mm-hmm.
Let me be proud of my heritage. Let me be proud, but I don't expect anyone else to express her skin color in that way.
Right.
I don't know what they were thinking when they did that or when they said that. I don't understand that. But to me, it was a slap in the face or
it was.
Yeah.
But think about the time, right?
Yeah. Think about the time. You're right.
Because in
You're
the
right.
time,
Mm-hmm.
it was against the law for people who look like me and you to know how to read.
Yeah.
So anything that was written was not written for us to read.
Right. Well, I guess you have a point there, I guess. But those of us that
can read now,
that's exactly right. It is a slap in the face,
Right?
Yeah.
But it's
and I think there could have been another way to express their care or their love, if there was love for her, other than even trying to describe her. We can see who she is.
Right.
We don't have to express it that way.
But here's the thing, right? Because again, I do not think this was intended for us.
Mm-hmm.
And she has been a great blessing to the family. And just like those people that come up to me and want to tell me that my husband's grandmom was their mammy, she's got that old time religion. That's how they talked about us. Yeah. And a lot of times, Mrs. C, it's hard. I find that it's hard for people to hear these stories that I have to tell, to hear what you have to say, for them to hear how you feel about seeing these words said about your great 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 grandmother. Yes. But we got to, because we got to learn from our history.
Yes, we do.
So I appreciate you, sharing with me how you felt, and I can imagine, what they're going to say about me 5 generations from now, and I want my Mrs. C to get on somebody's podcast
and just let them have it.
Let them have it. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Tell the truth about Miko Pickett,
God.
okay?
Yeah.
So, but I just find her to be I'm enthralled with her. Yeah. And you have this painting. Now you told me there's another picture of her.
Well, other than the two you just showed, I had copies of this one made, and I had to give one to my aunt Sal, who's 94 years old, and that was for her birthday. She wanted the original. I said, Sal, let me make you one, and I gave her one. So there is another copy. Yes,
it's in pristine condition.
Yeah, and the family that we were talking about on Smith Street, there was a copy there, but I don't know where that is.
Oh, wow.
There was 2 original copies, and I'm not sure where that second one is.
because she was, I mean, the more and more we stitch together these pieces, she was no normal person.
No.
You
No.
know, she was a nurse, she was a
Yeah.
midwife, and I call her a hero
Yeah.
because she was a leader in her community. She brought
Yeah.
life into this world.
Mhm.
She took care of other people's family and her own
And her own, yeah.
family. You know, I mean, and then here we are, 2026, almost 2 years from 100 years later from the day she died, and we still are talking about Miss Phyllis Jordan.
Thank you. You're right. And let me give her a hand too.
Yes.
If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. You know. So yeah.
Because she lived, because she thrived,
Yeah.
you're here. So there's something that your aunt shared with you. Run, Phyllis, run.
I'd never heard that before. My aunt Sal, she's a riot. I love her to death. When I took the picture to her, oh, that's Mama Phyllis. You know, well, you know, she called her.
Yes.
You know, but anyway, and she started telling this story when I had never heard. Back in that day, my great grandmother would run, and the community where she was, when they found out she was on the run, it was Phyllis is on the run. Run, Phyllis, run. And each house would pick it up. And it was just like right on down the community. Every house was saying, run, Phyllis, run. I thought that was cute. I had never heard that before. And, you know, but I believe it to Aunt Sarah, she would remember and share that with me. And I'm glad she did.
I mean,
Yeah.
I do too. I think
Yeah.
it's so, it's
Yeah.
neat.
Yeah.
And it's jarring.
It's like a folklore or something, you know.
Yeah.
Just fits
But
in
run,
that
Phyllis,
drama.
run, right?
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's like, you
Yeah.
know, she was not accepting of her circumstances.
Exactly. And that was another thing she fought. She was physically healthy and strong, is what my grandmother told me. And she was mentally and spiritually strong. And she was able to, when they tried to subdue her, when she ran, she fought. She physically fought these men. So, you know, and I'm proud of that too. Got a couple of family members that reminds me of her. Deborah, one of them.
I love me some Deborah.
Yeah.
I do. And you're right. She's a strong woman.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
She's just, and look, Miss Marvin Page says her strength to endure was beyond awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, endure to carry on for future generations. You know, just she just was not just, I don't want to say just a nurse, because no one is just a nurse. It's a very valuable you know, career.
Mm-hmm.
She was something else. She was something else. She's on your wall. She's on somebody else's walls. You know, and we're going to learn more and more about it. We're going to be stitching this together. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, when you think about your great grandmother, what is a lesson? And I didn't ask you this, so I'm putting you on the spot a little bit.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
Oh gosh, what is my thought, or what
is your thought?
Yeah.
And then what lesson do you think Miss Phyllis has left for you, for me, and the future generations?
Well, she was a strong woman's strength. That's the first thing I see in this lady. And when I read that she was her heart was pure. Even in that time, she must have known the Lord. That was hard.
It was hard.
That was hard, because if you're going through what they had to go through, and you can hang on to the Lord, that's something that she leaves that for me. And she leaves that for me. It may not be just what she went through, but we're going through some hard times, and we must hang on to the Lord. So, you know, I appreciate that. And that's a lesson. That's a real lesson to learn. So she was just an amazing woman. I just wish I would have known more about her. You know, I look at her face. I said to her on her picture,
mm-hmm.
I looked at it and I said, you know, the only thing I didn't like, Mama Phyllis, why didn't you smile on that picture? Oh, I would have loved to have seen a smile. And someone said with Carol, she probably didn't have anything to smile about. Yes, she did. If she knew the Lord, she smiled. But she
True.
just didn't show it every day. But she smiled.
Every day's
Ye-
like Sunday. So
Yes,
her
yes,
Sundays were
exactly.
catch her on a
Yes,
Sunday.
yes, yes. So she was just an amazing woman, and I just appreciate everything that she's passed down through the generations.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for sharing your family story
Thank you.
and helping us preserve an important chapter of Mullins history. Mullins history.
Thank you.
You know, women like Miss Phyllis remind us that our history is so precious.
Yeah.
There were so many things that happened, and their strength is why we are here today. And, you know, I talk about my wonderful Miss Louise Pickett, my mother in law. And she's probably why I'm here. I think she passed away before we moved, you know, but she was such a strong person. You know, she was tiny, she was mighty. They had to be.
Yeah.
They had to
Right.
be, you know, and history
Yeah.
is written by ordinary people who choose to serve others every single day. And I am going to do everything in my power to make sure that Miss Phil's history is cemented into Mullins history. She was more than just a nurse, a maid, a cook. She was Mrs. Phyllis Jordan.
There you go. Thank you so much.
I
appreciate
thank
that.
you. I thank you so much. And I'll see you soon, okay?
Thank y'all.
Well, y'all, so we are concluding my series on Juneteenth, freedom, legacy, and the stories that shape Mullins. You know, we've taken a journey through 3 remarkable stories. We began with the Emancipation Proclamation. This was the document that changed the course of American history and gave hope to millions of people seeking freedom. Then we explored the extraordinary life of Putu Goslar, whose journey from Africa to South Carolina reminds us of the resilience of human spirits and the importance of preserving our ancestors' story. And today, we celebrate Shiro, Mrs. Phyllis Jordan, whose life demonstrates that heroism is often found in quiet acts of compassion and service. These stories remind us that Juneteenth is not simply a single day in history. It's about freedom earned, freedom protected, freedom passed down from one generation to the next. Otherwise, we would never know this story. It's about remembering those who came before us, honoring those who served our communities, and ensuring their stories are never forgotten. African American history is American history. When we preserve those stories, we preserve the soul of our community. So I want to thank those of us that watched this 3-part series for joining me. And until next time, continue learning, continue to gather those stories from your family members. And remember, we are stronger together.